And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Russell Pierce Raw Review. I'm your host, as usual, Ebo Russell Pierce, better known to many of you guys as Back at the Hangman. And I'm joined by my usual co-host, Rob of Orlando. And we're going to break down a controversial and interesting up and down episode of Monday Night Raw. There were some things in the early parts of the show that I really enjoyed, and there were some things later in the show that I really did not. But we're gonna talk about all of it. We're gonna break all of it surrounding the show that I can provide for you guys. And so we'll talk about Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about the news surrounding Monday Night Raw, and any one of your questions that you guys have that are completely wrestling related, whether it's Raw or anything. We're here to answer your guys' questions. We're here to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for the next little bit. But first, guys, please remember to like the video, share the video, comment, super chat, all those things, because your interaction helps us greatly. So thank you guys for joining us. I'm joined by Rob. Rob, what's going on, man? Talk to me. What's up?
Nothing much this week. Raw was, like you said, Raw was very up and down
Mm-hmm.
compared to last week.
Yep.
Last week felt like a statement show, kind of, whereas this week it kind of felt like they knew they were going up against the national championship game, and so it felt like this week it was a lot less. Everything felt a lot less permanent. You know what I mean? Like they got Punk and Drew out of the way. They basically got Punk out of the way at the beginning of the show, and then the rest of the show they just did whatever they wanted, which I didn't understand because it was just like you're going into the Royal Rumble. Why wouldn't you want to establish that you're taking things more serious? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it felt like the allotment of time was weird. Like Punk and Drew got the beginning of the show, which is fine, but I almost would have liked to see them throughout the night, considering some of the other things that we were subjected to throughout the night. Um, there's matches that I wish got more time. There's matches that I wish got less time. But for me personally, I thought the show was pretty damn good, to be honest, for about like 40% of the way there. And then like at some point in hour two, like the shit just got weird. But
Right.
nevertheless, Cody Rhodes seemingly finishes his storyline with Nakamura tonight. And as he said himself on social media, there's two more steps left for him. And those steps are presumably the Royal Rumble and Roman Reigns. And so
Right.
he overcame Nakamura last night in a street fight. And that match went 24 minutes. The longest Raw match in a few months, actually. 24-minute long main event, street fight, Nakamura, Cody Rhodes. And he defeated him, put him through a table. And Cody Rhodes now turns his attention towards finishing the story. And he also did an interview this morning, Rob. I don't know if you saw this. He talked to Sports Illustrated. And they asked him about The Rock. And they're like, yo, man, like, are you worried about that? Does that change your path at all? And he was just basically like, listen, man, all respect for Rock. All respect to CM Punk. These guys are in my way. They're in my way of getting, in my way of doing what I'm trying to do. And he basically said that he's still just not flinching. The goal remains the same. And that he's going to try to still finish the story at WrestleMania. And I'm having a hard time figuring out if this is just bravado to just kind of keep his fans engaged, or if this is genuinely his shoot feeling, and that he still thinks that like he's the one with the inside track to fight Roman at Mania. It's kind of hard to tell at this point, to be honest, because at the end of the day, Cody's a wrestler. He's a worker. It's his job to keep his fans invested in what he's doing, even if he knows in the back of his mind that like it's not happening this year. You know what I mean? But I'll give you the quote. He said, "The Rock is the great one. He's still electrifying. CM Punk is one of the greatest stars in history of wrestling. I know what I'm up against. Look at the roster. It's loaded with stars. But that doesn't bother me. I'm not flinching. I'm not rooting against anyone else. I'm just working to make it I'm working to make it happen." And what he's saying make it happen is beating Roman Reigns to the world title. So that's kind of his stance on the matter right now.
You know, yeah, brother. Cody, I get all that. I understand all that. But you got to look at the names that are in your way. Regardless of how I feel about CM Punk, we all pretty much know where CM Punk is going with his story. You know what I mean? Because I don't see it wouldn't make sense for him to go to Roman Reigns at all. He basically told Seth Rollins, "If I win, I'm coming for you, brother." Um, Rock, The Rock is an interesting part of the story because Have you seen all the horrible? I promise you, because I listened to y'all talk about it on Worldwide last night. All the horrible. If The Rock wins this, beats this person, or does this triple threat, or costs this person, I'm just like, dude, all of these ideas suck.
They're all horrible.
They
I've seen so many bad pitches. Bully Ray this morning pitched for Rock and Roman to happen at the Elimination Chamber to then lead to Roman, Rock, and Cody in a three-way at Mania, and Cody wins the title by pinning The Rock. Why the fuck would you do that? And he was saying basically it allows yourself to do a Cody Roman rematch where the build is that Roman never got pinned. And it's just so convoluted and stupid to me. All these ideas are so convoluted. Raj Giri was saying, Cody could finish the story facing Randy Orton at Mania and for the world title, and Randy could win the title in the four-way at the Rumble, and Roman doesn't get pinned. That sucks too. Roman Reigns has been champion, Rob, for what, 1,200 days at least? And you want to end this reign, this historical reign where he's been beating everybody. You want to end it in a multi-man where he doesn't get pinned? That's terrible. Everybody's pitch of this sucks. Keep it simple, stupid. What are these ideas?
guys.
Everybody's coming up with these ideas that are compromises, and most of them don't make anybody happy. And they're not satisfying, at least in my opinion. So that's just kind of my.
Because I need to state this. It stands with multi-man matches. Just because you're not one of the last two in the Royal Rumble and you're not getting thrown over the top last doesn't mean you didn't lose the Royal Rumble. Just because you didn't get pinned or submitted in a multi-man match does not mean you lost. You didn't lose the match. You still lost.
Yeah, I just
triple threat, pin one person, you protect the other person. Why does Roman Reigns need protection?
I just don't get any of these pitches, and I'm not interested in any of these pitches. So yeah, I don't know. They all stink, and I just kind of had to speak on that. Cody Rhodes remains unfazed and unflinching about this. Again, like I said, I hope this is just his genuine opinion, and it's not that he's just trying to stay strong and have the bravado for the fans. I really do hope he's able to make it back to the big stage with Roman Reigns and he finishes his story. I don't give a shit what you do with The Rock, as long as it doesn't get in the way of that. Be my guest. If that means he faces Roman in Australia, if that means he faces Roman in the opener of night 1, and then Roman faces Cody in the main event of night 2, I don't really care. You figure it out. That's not my job. That's your job. You're the ones who wanted to bring him back because you.
But the thing is,
What's
him doing what he's doing, like he did this morning, is way better than him just ignoring it.
Of course, I'm glad he's addressing it because it's an elephant in the room. It's an elephant in the room. Everybody's looking at Cody like, damn, bro, you're not finishing the story. The Rock's back. And he's like, no, the goal still remains the same. And he should be saying that. And I think it rallies the troops, and I think it fires people up, and it's the right call to make. So good on Cody. Guys, we're going to be reading your super chats before we get into Monday Night Raw. Make sure to send them and get them in now. I'll answer any questions you guys have. I'll address any topics you guys have, and you guys can speak on whatever wrestling-related thing you'd like to speak on. So without further ado, let's start going through some of them right now. Rob, this, guys, is your chance to get in your super chats.
Yes. Andy, 200 rupees. Strong episode. Drew Punk, DIY JD, or Judgment Day. Nia Jax, Becky interactions, well booked. Loved Kaiser Angle.
I did too.
Back to Miz. What'd you say?
No, I just said I loved it too.
Oh, tying back to Gunther gaslighting him and Vinci injury, 8 out of 10. Did Miz truth outweigh the good for you?
Well, to answer you, I actually thought the Miz truth stuff this week was less grating than last week. It still gets a little too much time for my liking personally, and I just will never agree with Miz versus JD getting 15 minutes while Ciampa and Balor get 8. That's lopsided to me, and that should be reversed. It should be the other way around, personally, because the other match was trending towards being a very good TV match, and then it didn't really get the time to fully materialize into a great TV match. Did that outweigh it? No, actually, it was after this. I think that I was already like barely tolerating the fact that that was kind of getting the amount of time it did. But at the end of the day, the crowd was super into all the Miz R-Truth antics, so like I wasn't even complaining about that this week. What got me, to be honest with you, was after this we did the Jinder Mahal Seth Rollins segment, and that just kind of jumped the shark for me. I don't need Jinder Mahal in 2024. And even if it is for a one-off TV match, I'm just sitting there and I'm like, why do I need to see any of this? This is a waste of my time. Seth's gonna face this guy next week and then beat him, and it's just like, why are we still doing Jinder Mahal in 2024? What is the purpose and what's this accomplishing? So I just felt like my time was being wasted, and it was just kind of annoying to see that. And then we followed that up with Cody Rhodes and Nakamura. And look, the best thing I can say about that is that hopefully it's over. It wasn't a bad match by any means. The crowd was into it. Cody Rhodes is a star, and he got the job done. But it's just like, between Cody and Knock, which I've mentally checked out of, and Jinder Mahal, it's just like I'm just sitting here and I just miss Sami Zayn. I miss Gunther. I miss Ricochet. I miss Chad Gable. That's just the bottom line. Those four guys were part of the nucleus of Monday Night Raw in the fall when the show became much, much, much better. The show was much improved in post SummerSlam last year, and it's thanks in great part to the people that I just named who are not on the show at the moment. And so it's impossible for me to sit here on a Monday and not think about that and think about the fact that like these 3 hours used to be anchored by those guys producing great work. And now I'm sitting here and they're being replaced by The Miz and Jinder Mahal. So that's just kind of my stance on it. I didn't think the episode was horrible. I just thought that it was very frustrating at points because there's people getting TV time that I would rather see better wrestlers get that time. But that's just kind of my perspective on that.
Alrighty, thank you for the super chat. Hush 199. Awesome Truth and Jinder. What's up with Triple H, man?
Yeah, it's annoying. Awesome Truth is getting the time because they're popping quarter hours. And between that and the fact that they're over, I guess I have to throw my hands up and say whatever. My thing on them is just if you balance the show out with like I said, the Gunther, Sami Zayns, and Chad Gables of the world, I can live with it. But when those guys aren't around and I got a lot of Awesome Truth in my TV, it's just annoying. Jinder Mahal, again, I don't need to see this. The backstage news I have on Jinder is that he was meant to be a rib for the Rocks segment, and they being the office, they just thought that he did very well in the situation given the circumstances, and they decided to reward him with a singles match as a again as a reward for his performance. And so that's why he's getting the match with Seth. And cool, I guess it's cool that WWE is functioning like a meritocracy, but yeah, I don't have much use for that, and I hope we don't make this a thing that's like weekly, so that's kind
The annoying part. I'm sorry. The annoying part about that is right. Regardless, I don't really like Theory. You don't really like Theory, right?
of.
But you could say the Theory thing with The Rock helped him get over as a heel, in whatever way you might say it helped him get over. With this, why are we doing this with Jinder Mahal? And then next week we have him challenging the world heavyweight champion when this could have been another uprising heel on the roster, another rising star.
Yeah, that's just kind of my thing. I mean, I don't mind Jinder being the fall guy for Rock because like any other more important wrestler getting dunked on by the Rock would have been damaging, to be honest, though. But again, there's just too many good wrestlers for Seth Rollins to be wasting a week on him. I'd rather see Seth Rollins in a one-off. You're gonna give him a one-off title match. Why not do him and Ricochet? Like, if you're gonna just do one, just to do one, and like the guy didn't earn his title shot, why don't you do one with the guy that like you've invested in and you focused on and like is good, and younger or whatever. So yeah, give me that. Give me fucking Seth versus any of those types of guys rather than Jinder Mahal. But they're going with Jinder, and that's just annoying. It's going to be 15 minutes of TV on next week's show that I don't care about. Is Seth probably going to get something decent out of the guy? I'm sure he probably will. He probably will get a decent match out of the guy. People are going to do that as
It's gonna be Seth does a couple cool moves, cut off, headlock, long headlock,
some counters. The Colossus will do at the end.
come
Seth will
back,
get out of it. He'll do the pedigree.
kick out.
Superplex, Falcon Arrow shit. Look, they're gonna do the Seth Rollins match. You know what I mean? They're gonna do the Seth Rollins match, and people are gonna go, "Oh, this is why you shouldn't have been talking shit." Jinder Mahal and Seth cooked. And it's like, it's not about that. Like, sometimes it's not about that. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from.
Thank you for the super chat. Chi-Town Spurs, $5. Do you guys think it's been the right call to debut Punk in the way that they have?
Yeah, I have no issue with CM Punk's rollout so far. I think it's been pretty. I think it's actually been very well handled, and he adds a lot of gravitas to the Royal Rumble. He is
Yeah.
the monkey wrench in many main wrestlers, main characters, WrestleMania plans in kayfabe, and so it's been cool to see the characters kind of having to react to this. So
Yeah, a thing I really like that we're gonna get into in a second was Drew basically straight up saying like, "Bro, I haven't been re-signed. I haven't been re-signed, and you're part of the reason that I haven't been re-signed."
hey, he straight up said you're costing a lot of people money.
So,
Good stuff.
Corey David, $2. Oba Feminist Rise. Charlie Dempsey, good. AJPW debut.
Good All Japan debut. Yeah, Dempsey. People were kind of getting their dunks off initially because his first tag match was against Tatsumi Fujinami and Leona, a geriatric and a bad wrestler. You know, all loved it. Fujinami. I love Fujinami, but like he's like 74, I think. And Leona, his son, isn't particularly good. So when that match wasn't good, people like coming to sweeping conclusions, and they were saying, "Oh, he's not over. He's this and that." And then in the second match, Dempsey was, he's in that tag with against I believe it was Hideki Suzuki and Katsuhiko Nakajima. That was better, obviously, but like still wasn't anything crazy. And yeah, people were just kind of jumping to their conclusions. And I thought his straight up singles match against Katsuhiko Nakajima was great. So if it was up to me, I'd let him stay there. Actually, I think he should just kind of hang out there for a couple months and just grow as a wrestler. He fits better in that setting. And as regards to Obafemi, I mean, look, he won the breakout tournament. Congratulations to him. I build up to him and Dragunov like it's a prize fight, frankly. So we'll see what happens with Obafemi.
Alrighty. Hush, 199. Is Jay lined up as Gunther's next feud?
They will wrestle. They will wrestle. Gunther will defend the IC title against him. It's not going to be a WrestleMania thing. People think it's Mania. It's not Mania. Jey Uso is gunning for a singles belt, and he's gunning for Gunther. So that means he's inevitably going to be in the orbit of Gunther. We're going to see what's the future of the IC title next week. As we all been pointing out, there were a number of wrestlers that were looking to get a shot in these backstage segments, and we never got the follow-up on what was going to happen to that. Gable wasn't on this week's TV, so I hope he's not hurt, because if he's hurt, then it throws off whatever plan they had there, to be honest with you. But we do know that Bronson Reed's gunning for it. We know that Ivar's gunning for it. We know that Gable, Kofi, and who else? Ricochet were gunning for it. Ricochet even made a tweet about it yesterday. And then Jey Uso, we know that he wants singles gold, and he noted this last night. So that's 6 wrestlers right there. So we'll see what happens. And we're going to find out next week when Gunther thankfully returns to this show.
Whenever this match happens, it's not taking place at WrestleMania. They told you after SummerSlam.
What is Mania matches?
Yes, they told you it's him versus Jimmy.
Yes.
It's not Gunther.
Yeah, I don't know how people like WWE will spell certain things out to fans, and it's like fans will like continually just let people know that they don't watch the product. Like, just watch the product. You know?
Yeah, they were like, "How the fuck are we? Why isn't this happening at Payback? How is it gonna happen at WrestleMania? How are they gonna get there?" And it was very simple. They just put Jay on Raw.
Yes.
So, thank you for the super chat, Josh Friesen, $6.99 Canadian. Any thoughts of them doing Drew versus Priest for the case? Make Drew happy as well as have a successful cash in that'll make people happy.
I could see something like this happening only because there's like they clearly keep reiterating this tension between Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest, and I actually foresee an inevitable Judgment Day backstabbing of Damian Priest, and so I don't know how.
Really?
Yeah, I think Judgment Day is gonna fuck Damian Priest over. I don't know how soon it is because they're not going over it with it right now. It's just like mild disagreements and stuff like that he's having with them. And there's clearly like a very subtle power struggle between Rhea Ripley and Priest when it comes to the authority of the Judgment Day. And so between those things and the fact that Rhea keeps saying, yo, don't fuck with Drew. And Yeah, the reason why she keeps saying don't fuck with Drew and Priest is like I'm not worried about that nigga. I'm curious where that's going and how that's going to materialize, but I do think something like what Josh is pitching is actually very possible.
Do you think they replace Priest with Drew?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you for the super chat. So Jizzle 4.99. Retire the champion can lose without losing multi-man loophole. Terrible, predictable booking crush for both WWE and AEW.
It is, but I don't think it's actually been done in a long time though. Where like a champion loses his belt without getting pinned in a multi-man. I can't remember the last time they actually did that, but that was what this was used for, like for a long time.
I hate it for the simple fact that the person that wins, you don't look any tougher. You don't like the best defense of a world title in a triple threat match was the triple threat match at 37, where Roman just said, "I'm gonna pin both of you instead of pinning one of you," and it made sense. But now everybody, it creates a loophole for the next feud, which the other person is obviously gonna lose. So I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
I don't. What currency is this?
I have no
Oh
clue.
no, Kale. $20. Do you know if Gable is injured, absent with American Alpha?
Yeah, I noticed that last week. I noticed that as well. He didn't walk out the Alpha Academy. I hope he's not hurt. Um, yeah, I just hope he's not hurt.
That
That
would
would just
really suck.
it would suck and it would throw off the IC title plans because Gunther's obviously going to give us a follow up on what's going on there. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to ask. I forgot to ask, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, but I'll ask if Chad is okay.
Alrighty, and I think that's all the super chats that we have for right now.
Okay, let's get to Raw. Raw opened up immediately with Drew McIntyre in the ring, and he was cutting a promo, and he basically said he was kind of complaining about his loss to Seth Rollins, and he essentially just said that he thinks he's just going to walk out. You know, he's going to leave WWE, and he said it wasn't an easy decision, but he was complaining about losing and how like much this meant to him, and he kind of pointed the finger at certain people. Drew was basically saying, like, I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't actually lose clean. Like, Damian Priest tried to fucking cash in, and he basically said, like, Priest, why would you cash in the middle of the match when you could have cashed in after I won and I was beaten? And he called him an idiot for it and looked at the camera. But he pointed the finger at numerous people and ultimately just basically wouldn't take accountability for his loss and was complaining. And he took a bunch of shots at CM Punk, saying, like, maybe I'll get all these opportunities when I leave for 9 years and come back or whatever, and this and that. So he's taking shots at Punk. And so, of course, this triggers CM Punk, who comes out.
CM
And,
Punk's like, all right, bro.
Yeah, he was like, that's the second mention. Punk comes out, and Punk was just like, look, man, you're saying my name. So if you got something to say to me, you might as well say to me, you know, face to face in the ring. And so Punk sits up on like the ropes, like he's almost doing like the laying down tranquilo horizontal lay on the ropes in the corner. And the crowd is going crazy. Portland's chanting CM Punk. Punk made a remark. He said, like, I thought you were going to come out with the kilt. You know, you're in Piper country. Like, they might have actually cheered you for that. But he also said, like, you know, I'm known for talking. Roddy's known for talking. You're not known for talking, you know. But he said, well, I'll give you the opportunity to say what you got to say to me. Crowd is in Punk's side at this point, right? And Drew said, you know, I actually used to ride and travel the roads with you. And so I have a lot that I could say to you. But I'm going to stick to this. He said, like, this show's only 3 hours. So, like, we're not going to have enough time for me to say what I need to say about CM Punk. Yeah, he told a story about how 10 years ago when Punk was the WWE champion, he called himself the locker room leader, which immediately triggered a memory in my mind. Rob, Cody Rhodes once on Talk Is Jericho was talking about how Punk used to go backstage and call himself the locker room leader, and that Cody used to cringe about it. But it's a forgotten story that people don't really mention. But nevertheless, Drew McIntyre says that Punk called himself the locker room leader, and he's saying it's funny because, like, if you're a leader, you don't call yourself a leader. But he said that Punk used to call himself the locker room leader and this and that. And he's saying it's funny he used to say these things because back then I was a kid going through a dark time, and I was in a dark place, and I actually did need a leader in my life to help me at this time. But he said it's funny because he said Randy Orton. I spoke about this with Randy Orton before, about how like he could have used help from somebody like that from one of the OGs. And he said he understood why Randy didn't, because Randy had his own demons that he was dealing with at the time. He says, "You're straight edge. You didn't have these demons that you were dealing with, but you avoided me because you knew I was a threat to your championship." He basically said, like, I was a threat to your spot and your position, so you weren't going to help me. You weren't going to help lift me up to where you were. And so he pointed that out with CM Punk. He called Punk like a hypocrite and a narcissist and a bunch of other things. Um, yeah, he just kind of just lit Punk up in that respect. Um, he was saying that like he basically was saying that like he's not a kid anymore. He's the man. He's a man, and he's the man. He said now he's a leader, and he leads it in front of Punk and stuff. And basically, it's one of those things where it's just kind of like you're coming back into a territory now where I'm not that kid I was 10 years ago. Now I'm the man around here. Now I'm my own man. He's saying that he's not in a dark place anymore. He's doing really well. He's
He said,
Drew
I'm
freaking.
the locker room leader now.
He said I'm Drew freaking McIntyre and all that type of stuff. So he basically just put this chest out and let Punk know that like, I'm a 1A now, brother. You know what I mean? I shoot the ball. I score 30. I'm an all-star. I'm the guy over here. So, just let that be known. Punk was
I'm the
smirking
number one
throughout this
option.
promo. Punk was smirking throughout this promo. He also told Punk that he said that like he's a demon. He called Punk a demon. Um, Punk said that he said, I'm a lot of things. I've never called myself a locker room leader. And he told Drew McIntyre this. He said, "What did you need someone to fucking hold your hand?" He said, "Because if that's what you needed, I could hold your hand right now and I can cut your hair. Maybe you could pledge to the straight edge society," which is a funny line. Um, got a big pop out of me. But he told Drew, he said, "Look, man, if you ever saw that bad side of CM Punk, that says more about you than it does about me." And he says, "The people that deserve it, like I can be more than a demon. I'm fucking Satan himself, you know." And he was just talking shit, and he said, "Look, I'm not here to, for this stuff. I'm not here to be making friends. I'm here for a very specific reason: is to win the Royal Rumble and main event WrestleMania." And he was telling Drew that he's in his way, and he was saying, "This is getting real spicy. So look, I'm gonna lead right now and walk away before I knock your teeth down your throat, you know." And he pointed that out to Drew. Drew McIntyre said he would exercise CM Punk at the Rumble because Drew declared himself for the Rumble. And Punk told him, since I'm such a good leader and since I'm such a nice guy, I'm going to make sure before I win the Rumble, you're the last guy I throw out. And he walked away from Drew McIntyre. And I thought this was an excellent segment. I thought it was excellent because Drew McIntyre did not feel like he was eclipsed in any way by CM Punk. He was not bitched. He did not back down from Punk. He did not feel like he was less than Punk. He felt, if anything, it felt like he grew up right before your eyes. It felt like you got to the growth of Drew McIntyre was illustrated right in front of you, because I'm just thinking to 2014 3MB Drew, and that's the Drew that CM Punk left, right? And he comes back now, and this is this big mountain of a man who's his own guy. And he doesn't feel like he's faking it in front of Punk. It doesn't feel like he's like trying to finesse it and fake it just, until he makes it. It felt like he's a real, fully realized adult main event wrestler that Punk is now dealing with. And he felt undeterred by CM Punk, and he stood his ground. And that was my biggest takeaway watching this thing, is that Punk didn't bitch him, and he didn't do the shitty John Cena segment thing where Cena just kind of hears the guy whining and then just kind of cuts them down with work shoot comments, and then the guy just feels reduced afterwards. It was not that type of thing. If anything, it just feels like the Royal Rumble has so many stakes now because there's so many main event guys with real serious motivations, and there's a lot riding on the line for these guys. Cody Rhodes needs to win the Rumble to get to finishing his story. CM Punk needs to win the Rumble because his story is about, again, doing the thing that he never got to do. He never won the Rumble. He never made it at Mania. Drew McIntyre never won the title in front of live fans. And so there's a lot. Something's got to give here, and there's a lot on the line for everybody involved. And so it's like only one of these people is going to be happy, and everyone else is going to have to succumb to the ultimate heartbreak. So from that standpoint, in terms of just constructing and building the Royal Rumble narratively, fantastic segment, and I thought it was an excellent start to the show.
Yeah, I have no really no choice but to agree with everything you just said. I really enjoyed the way Drew McIntyre came off here. I forgot who said it to me, but it's very nice that Drew changed it up, and it's no longer wham bloodline wham. Like now he actually has a gripe, and now he actually has a reasoning for the things that he's complaining about. I like the fact that he called out Punk basically for leaving him behind, because he's just like, Drew McIntyre is on record saying like he enjoyed doing stuff with Heath Slater and Jinder Mahal. He had no problem with the people involved, but he hated his life during 3MB because it was just like he was the chosen one and he was propped up and he won the IC title almost immediately. I don't even think he won it. I think he was given the IC title almost immediately on debut. And it was just like he went from the IC title to the tag team title with Cody Rhodes. And then he was just lingering, and then it was 3MB. And all 3MB ever did was get beat up and lose. So yeah, I like that he brought that aspect up. I like that he basically stepped it up a little bit, and he was just like, "Hey, man, I don't care what your whole proposition is. I don't care what your whole plan is. Your goals are. My goal is to win of the Royal Rumble for the second time and get my main event in front of the fans that I never got to get."
Mm-hmm.
I like the Punk's reply of basically saying like, "I don't know if you wanted me to hold your hand or whatever, but that's not what I do." And I like this whole his basic reply of, "Hey man, if you want to talk all this shit, show me in the Rumble."
Mm-hmm.
I really would have wished that we would have gotten an announcement for them in a singles match or something next week to kind of bolster Raw and kind of make next week's Raw feel important. But
Mm.
it is
It,
what
it,
it is.
it feels like they're holding off CM Punk's in-ring debut. It feels like they're holding it off for the Rumble. But I wouldn't have been opposed to that. I would not have been opposed to Drew McIntyre and Punk. The only thing is, Drew either has to job or you go to a non-finish there, and I don't know what you want to do there, unless you just do that type of thing where you have them fight, they brawl off, and it's more of a brawling angle on the outside and then through the crowd than a match itself. I don't hate that, but yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. It definitely would make Raw next week feel big. Um, I hope that when with Gunther's return segment, they set up matches on that night to qualify for his championship. You know what I'm saying? I hope we get something like that. But this was week 2 of Kevin Dunn not being the executive producer, director, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of Monday Night Raw of WWE. And we saw another visual new quirk, Rob. I don't know if you caught this. Tommaso Ciampa was cutting his promo while walking from backstage through Gorilla, which is a thing that they've never really done ever. And so he's cutting his promo, basically declaring why DIY this year are going to win the tag team championships. And the second match was Tommaso Ciampa versus Finn Balor. And these guys are super pros. This is the ultimate Triple H matchup. Tommaso Ciampa, Finn Balor, 2 NXT guys. And I mean, what can you say? It was a super professional work, super sharp. These guys are just chopping each other. They're doing snug headlocks, snug transitions, good stuff there. And I was enjoying the hell out of this. And surprisingly, Rob, this Portland crowd was really into this match. They were chanting for Ciampa. They were booing like Judgment Day and stuff. They were super into this. And then I remembered that this venue, the Moda Center, is where NXT TakeOver Portland took place, I'm pretty sure. And that show was main evented by Tommaso Ciampa versus Adam Cole. And that was the last NXT TakeOver in front of fans ever, because all the subsequent takeovers were during the pandemic.
Top
So
5 takeover ever, by the way.
it's a great show. I was looking back over the card. Fucking great show. The Broserweights versus Undisputed Era was on that show. Keith Lee and Dijak, Rhea Ripley and Bianca, Johnny Gargano and Balor, and then Cole and Ciampa. It's a great show. But anyway, so we get to this match and the crowd is like super into it. And I'm like, man, this is the perfect time to do like a 16-minute match with this crowd being this hot for it. And the work is so good. And then we just kind of get an abrupt finish after the commercial break, and it goes about like 8-9 minutes. And like what we got was good, but it was just like, man, on a show like this where there's not that much of interest, you might as well like fucking double the time of this one and at least eat up some of the TV time. And it didn't. But nevertheless, Tommaso Ciampa gets the win on Finn Balor. And DIY inches closer towards winning the tag team championships here. Damian Priest attempted to interfere, and Johnny Gargano handled business there. And Tommaso Ciampa hit him with a high knee, got back in the ring, and then he beat Finn Balor. So I thought this was good for the time it was given, and I think it was absolutely on track to being very good to great if they just gave it more time, and it unfortunately didn't get that time. What did you think, Rob?
This is one of the things that where I agree with you and your sentiment of like why are we putting all these bad segments on the show in places like I genuinely thought this match was going to get at least 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 minutes.
Especially when most Raw matches these days do get 2 segments in about 12 minutes.
Well, deadass, they get a PIP, and then they get a commercial break, and then you get the finish, which both is just probably gets you about 14, 15 minutes. But I remember I had just tuned back in, and then I'm watching the match, and I seen him do a Project Champa, right?
Mhm.
And then I look back, and all of a sudden they botched the Johnny botched the finish, and fucking all of a sudden the match is over, and I'm just like, wait a minute. So I scrolled back on the YouTube TV to where the bell rang, and it was like 8:22. The bell rang, and then it was 8:30. The match was over, and I was like, what the fuck are we doing, giving Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa 8 minutes? And this is why when I agree with you in saying, why are we giving Finn Balor 8 minutes, but Finn Balor and Tommaso Ciampa 8 minutes, but Rollins and Jinder Mahal probably got 10 minutes.
That's what I'm saying. Rollins and Jinder getting 10 minutes to just kind of waffle for a one-off TV match when like DIY are gonna face them for the tag titles. And then there's just other things on the show that like they got more match time, and it's like
Yeah, did I like I love
it's a 3-hour show with not that much content this week. This can go if you want to be indulgent and give this 18. Nobody here would have complained. Dave would have given it 4 stars,
yeah.
and at least you walk away from Raw and it's like the good stuff got most of the time and the bad stuff got less time, and the good stuff was really good. You know, we know what Ciampa can do. He had a 20-minute match with Gunther in the main event of Raw a couple months ago. That was fucking great. That match is awesome. So it's disappointing, but
I would have cut some of that Cody and Nakamura match.
yeah, Rob, it was 24 fucking minutes.
24
It didn't need
minutes.
to be 24 minutes. It is
24 minutes, and I felt like I was there for 40.
Yeah, they're brawling and kendo sticks and teasing table bumps. That could have easily been 14. Easily been 14. Nobody would have complained. It probably would have been slightly better, getting right to the point of the spots. So yeah, listen, you cut 10 minutes of the main event off, right? And you give 7 of it to Ciampa and Finn Balor, and another of those 3 to something else on the show, whatever you want it to fucking be. Oh, you give the other 3 to Otis and Ivar. Let Otis Ivar go 7 minutes instead of 4. And we're looking at a better show automatically. Just if you just distribute the time slightly differently. So yeah. But speaking more long term, DIY. I'm noticing, Rob, that they're getting more and more over. People wanted to get their dunks off when these guys reunited, and they were making their jokes about, DIY in 2023, LOL. But they're Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa are still very good professional wrestlers. They still add WWE's TV show, in my opinion. They don't miss in the ring, and they're getting more over here, and I think that they should beat Judgment Day for the tag titles, and I think that would help them progress their story. So I'm looking forward to their match. I think it should happen at the Rumble pay-per-view, Rob. I think because look, next week Gargano and Ciampa are going to beat the B team. They're going to beat JD and Dominic, right? That leaves us with one more TV before the Rumble. Instead of doing the match at the TV, in the go home, I would use the go home weeks to set up the angle, and then at the Rumble pay per view, you do the match. And look at this card. You get the men's Rumble, women's Rumble, the 4-way title match for Roman Reigns, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens, and DIY versus Judgment Day. That's a hell of a stadium card, if you ask me.
It's kind of like what they did in NXT. Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah.
no, my bubble wasn't moving. But yeah, it's kind of like what they did in NXT. You know what I mean? And I like that. I could have done like I said. I know everybody disagrees. I could have done without the new DIY theme in the presentation. And I like the fact that it's not the theme and the presentation that's getting them over. It's them doing what they do best, and that's wrestling. So I would love for them to go to the Royal Rumble and win the tag team titles. And so we can get the tag team division. Not that it's been bad, but we can get and please, I don't know when they're gonna do it. I don't know if it's after a Raw on after the Royal Rumble or after WrestleMania. Please, there are enough tag teams on both shows
Mm-hmm.
that we can now say split the tag team titles.
Mm-hmm.
There are enough tag teams on both shows for that now. So,
I wonder how long this card is going to be because it doesn't appear like Rhea Ripley or Io are going to defend their belts at the show. Who are their immediate challengers? You know, I'm not really sure who their challengers would be. Bianca Belair could have faced Io at the Rumble pay-per-view, but she's declared for the Rumble itself. And so I'm not really sure what you do there. And also Mia Yim lost straight up clean to Io Sky. And then on the Raw side, again, Rhea Ripley, she had an angle with Nia Jax that we're about to get into, but I don't know who would be her immediate challenger. Her last match was against Ivy Nile, and she won.
Is Nia in the Rumble?
Is not Nia Jax is in the Rumble? Yes, she's in the
fucking
Rumble.
Brother.
Yeah, so look, if you don't, I don't mind the women's titles not being defended at the show. I'd rather them not than you force a match in the last week or two. That would be a forced job. So again, to me, I think the perfect card based on what we have so far, again, is the 4-way Roman Reigns' 4-way, DIY versus Judgment Day, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens, and the 2 Rumble matches. 5 matches, 2 of them are going to go over an hour. Totally fine by me. If you want to add something, I mean, go ahead. I don't know what that would be. I'm not really sure what that match would be that you would add, unless you want to try to shoehorn in Jey Uso versus Gunther on that show. Which, I mean, if you want to do it, go ahead. You know, I'm not going to complain about a Gunther match. You know, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
All right.
So the next segment on Raw. Let's open this thing up. Sorry. Oh, Ludwig Kaiser and Kofi Kingston. So Kofi Kingston drop kicked Giovanni Vinci last week, and Giovanni Vinci's head hit right with the mat, and he got concussed. And WWE announced that he will be out for a couple weeks. So get well soon to Giovanni Vinci. It's a big, unfortunate, crushing blow. They were going to do a storyline where Imperium was going to have a nice little winning streak in Gunther's absence, and they really couldn't get to it because Giovanni got hurt. But so this is kind of a return match here. Kaiser is getting revenge for his partner, right? And so he's working Kofi. And the first thing I noted, Rob, was like this match just worked with like a sense of animosity that was like really surprising for like a mid-card television match. And the crowd was really into it. Kofi was super fiery. He was very old school to me. You know, they're chopping each other back and forth, and Kofi's chopping him, takes him to the corner, does the 10 punches like he's Ricky Steamboat. And they're fighting, and it's just very like, it's not even that the work is like super like dynamic and spectacular or that they're doing all these cool moves. It was just very spirited. And it just felt like there was a palpable sense of animosity. And so they're fighting, right? And then like after a commercial break, we get back to the match and they're still going back and forth. And then the match goes to a count out because they both failed to make the count of 10. And it's like, okay. And then Kofi's like, nah, fuck that. He gets back in the ring and he does a dive to the outside on Kaiser. And they're still brawling. And now security's coming out. They're separating them. And then Kaiser takes a fucking rolling chair and chucks it right in Kofi Kingston's face. And you're like, holy shit. Chucks it right in Kofi's face. The crowd is booing the shit out of Kaiser. Kaiser's looking super vicious.
Killed him with it.
Kaiser's looking super vicious. He's making these great facials. He's jacked. He looks like fucking, I'm getting shades of like 09 Randy from this fucking European man, you know? And then Kofi's kind of by the announce steps, and this guy Kaiser's like whacking his face on the steps. Security's kind of walking him out of the ringside area, and so he's walking away like, all right, I'm done. Psych runs all the way around the fucking ring, makes a beeline all the way around, and then drop kicks Kofi's face, boom, right to the steel steps. And I'm like, holy shit, this is a wrestling angle. This is a professional wrestling angle. Hatred, animosity, revenge. Kofi Kingston, it's eye for an eye. You did this to Vinci. I'm going to do this to fucking you. I'm only paying you back for what you fucking did. But because he's a heel and the fans love Kofi, he's a piece of shit. They're booing Kaiser. How could you do this to Kofi Kingston? And it was violent, and it was full of hate and rage and vengeance. And I'm like, yo, this is a wrestling angle on Monday Night Raw. Oh my God. This is amazing. This is great. Kofi's going to come back with Xavier Woods, and he's going to have like the most heated match with the 2 Imperium guys. What could have just been a multi-week nothing happening mid-card program, Rob, now feels like the most just the most high stakes fucking heated thing in the world. So I loved everything about this. In a perfect world, Rob, in a perfect fucking world, Big E gets medically cleared and we do Imperium.
Oh my God. I was just about to say, I was literally just about to say that.
That's what you do in a perfect world. This is not a perfect world, and I don't know if Big E's anywhere close to coming back, but that would be amazing, wouldn't it? That'd be beautiful. For what this was, I absolutely loved it. I thought this was maybe the best thing on the show for me personally, because I love a good angle, Rob. I love a good, well-executed angle that's just pro wrestling, and this was pro wrestling. So
I completely agree with you, and I completely wrote off this match. Like I was watching this in the national championship game at the same time, so I completely wrote off this match. And I looked and I heard the bell ring, and I was like, double count out. What the fuck are we doing a double count out for? All right, but then I'm watching, and then I just see them fighting and brawling, right? And then I saw Kofi's hand trapped in the stairs by the post, right? So I thought he was about to break his arm. And then they pushed him back and they pushed him back all the way to the ramp. He's like, all right, like you just said, he's like, all right, well, I'm done. And then he just does a fucking like he's running a relay race, just
mhm.
fucking drop kicks him, and he's like you said, he's standing over him, and he's just like he's yelling and screaming at him. And this is what we need. I'm sick and tired of if we have real life stuff like we have happened last week with Giovanni Vinci getting hurt. I'm sick and tired of, oh well, me and you are gonna have a match. Let's like you said about the match, let's lock up and
Let's
do
lock up and have a
no,
wrestle.
brother. No, brother, you hurt my partner, you hurt my friend. So now I am going to try to legitimately hurt you. And I
Rob,
don't know if you would you say?
Kaiser made me believe that he was legitimately pissed at what Kofi did to his partner.
Yes, and it's basically like it basically like showed that Kaiser wouldn't try to hurt him like this if it was just a regular match. Like they just have a regular match. He'd still try to win, but he wouldn't go the lengths that he did last night. But
No.
with last night, what you saw was it was kind of like, yo, like I'm not gonna let this slide. And so I loved that. I don't know if you've seen, but Xavier Woods, which I think he's been hurt. I don't know what he's been doing, but
Mhm.
he did say last night, he quote tweeted and said, "Oh shit, now you done messed up." So, like
Mhm.
you said, in a perfect world, this would lead to them as a tag team feud and Big E being the one to challenge Gunther, maybe at the Royal Rumble, maybe even at Elimination Chamber, something like that. But
Mhm.
we'll just have to see where this goes from here.
Yep. Yep. As an angle in isolation, I love this. So that was the deal with that. We followed this up. We come back from commercial break. Jackie Redmond is trying to get answers from Kaiser. And Cantor's like, what did you think? What happened? I'm just giving Kofi what Kofi did back to Vinci. And he's yelling and shit. He's super intense. He's talking about how, like, I'm the last man left in Imperium. Gunther's gone. Vinci's gone. It's just me. And he's going off about it. He's sweaty. He's angry. His veins popping up in his fucking face. And he's basically saying, like, nigga, I got to rep the set. I'm the only one here. Niggas can't think that this shit is sweet. And it's not sweet. This is Imperium, bitch. And so he's putting on for his city. And that's what he's doing. He's putting on for his city. Good for him. Good for him. The next major thing. Let's check this. Just double check. Next major thing was a rematch for the women's tag team championships. It was Kaden and Katana versus Piper Green.
Wait. I think before that was Rhea and Nia.
That's
Or
what
was it
I thought.
after?
But I'm looking at this recap.
Yeah, because on the Bleacher Report recap I looked at, it was Nia and Rhea had a segment, then the women's tag match.
Okay. All right. So yeah, Nia Jax was interviewed. They basically just kind of, it was her post-match interview after doing what she did to Becky Lynch. And yeah, she's just kind of talking shit about being Becky Lynch again, getting her shit off. The crowd is booing her. Rhea Ripley comes out. This is my brutality, the song and everything. Crowd
Yo, that
crazy.
fucking pop
The
was
crowd
crazy.
goes crazy for Rhea Ripley. And they're chanting mommy and this and that. They're going nuts for her, right? And she basically, there wasn't much to this from a content standpoint. It was just them talking shit, really, to each other. And Nia's kind of talking about how she's going to win the Rumble and whatnot. And, it was one of those kind of see you soon type of deals. And I absolutely anticipate this match happening soon. Nia Jax pointed
She
out
said,
how, like, I had you shook when I first debuted, when I put you on the ground. And she basically said, I ain't forget about that. So we're gonna get Nia and Rhea at some point soon. I presume maybe at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. We'll see about that. I know that Becky has to get her win back on Nia before Mania. So I wonder how they order this, because Nia does need to face Rhea singles, but she also should probably give that win back to Becky. Or Rob, you could just have it where Becky wins the belt from Rhea and her first challenger is Nia. That'd be New Japan booking, because it's one of those things where it's like a person's a champion now, but they're challenged by a person that they've never beaten. You can do one of those two things.
Hey
But
man,
all I know is this: for all the shit Nia Jax gets, she has added a different dimension to this women's division, and she gets massive heat. Her matches feel important. She's been heavily protected so far, and so when somebody does kind of take her down, it's gonna feel like a big deal. And combined with all of that, I actually think, hot take, I'm going to make the prediction now, Rob. I think that Nia Jax versus Rhea Ripley is going to be Rhea Ripley's best match in Charlotte. It won't be as good as the Charlotte match, but it'll be better than every match since. So
oh
we'll
no,
see
it
when that
definitely
happens.
will.
What's
Um,
up?
I said, oh no, it definitely will. And these narratives need to stop. Nia Jax is no longer as bad as she was in 2020. She doesn't injure people like she used to in 2020, 2021. So that meme needs to stop. She hasn't significantly injured anyone since she's gotten back. She hasn't had a horrible match. She had a better match with Zoe Stark. Even though I love Rhea Ripley, she had a better match with Zoe Stark than Rhea Ripley did the night after she faced Rhea Ripley. And so it was just like
The TV matches with Raquel were very fun.
the bro, that super heated TV match with the whole story was built around, can Raquel lift her?
In the
And
end,
when she
no.
finally did, the crowd lost their shit. And
Yes.
so it's just like I but this is my caveat with the situation, right? I don't even do you have Rhea lose at WrestleMania with how over she is?
Uh, I don't. That's a great question. That's a great question, because you can make the argument that maybe you want to prepare Jade Cargill for something like that, maybe in a couple months afterwards, or you give that to, I don't know, whoever the next woman is that gets super over, maybe a Tiffany Stratton if you want to go really crazy with it. It's a great question. I'll tell you this. What I'll say to this is, it's not a given that she's going to lose, nor should it be, because as awesome as Becky Lynch is, and as much as if she does beat Rhea, I'm not going to complain. But if she lost to Rhea, I would totally get it, and I wouldn't have an issue with that. So they're kind of in a win-win situation here, where that there's no wrong answer in my opinion between who should win, Becky versus Rhea Ripley. I don't think there's a wrong answer.
Oh no, there
There is
definitely is.
definitely a wrong answer for Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes.
Well, that's yeah, that's your opinion. But I just feel like, and especially with in the women's division, we haven't seen a super long title reign in a long time. I think the last super long title reign we've seen was probably Becky from SummerSlam to WrestleMania. But then I don't know when was the last long title reign we've seen. But I would love to see Rhea Ripley go on this title reign, especially with the new influx of women that we have coming up from NXT that are graduating, hopefully graduating this year. But not only that, some women switched over from SmackDown. Like I would love to see Rhea Ripley in a title match versus Mia Yim. I would love to see her in a title match versus Io. If Io loses the title, like there's many matches that you can get if you switch even if you switch Judgment Day over to Raw, SmackDown, or vice versa. So yeah,
Yep. So we got the women's
be right
tag.
back.
What happened? All right, so we got the women's tag match next, and it was hold on. All right, so we got the women's tag match. It was a rematch between Kaden Carter and Katana Chance against Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Piper Niven and Chelsea Green lost the women's tag team championships on the holiday edition of Raw. It was the final Raw of 2023. They lost to Kaden and Katana in a surprisingly decent match, and so we're getting the rematch here. And it was kind of more of the same. Basically, Chelsea Green is the comedy character. Piper Niven's the muscle that they have to overcome. The ladies have to be crafty and do a bunch of quirky and creative double team moves to kind of overcome this. And that's what they did. There was a spot where Piper Niven was going to go for a bonsai drop on one of the ladies, and their partner pulled the other one out the way and kind of put Chelsea Green in the way. and Chelsea's telling Piper not to fall on her, but it was too late. Chelsea Green gets hit with a bonsai drop from Piper Niven. This match started to get some heat. They're doing a lot of their cool double team moves. They get Piper out the way with like a springboard code breaker of some kind, and they do that move where like I think it's called the keg stand, where Katana lifts up Caden, Caden lifts up Katana and like a vertical. It's super difficult to explain, but it's an assisted splash of some kind, and they retain the tag titles. And I thought this was harmless fun and a solid title defense, and I have no real problem.
I actually really like this match. I like this match in a lot more matches than the Rave Girls have had because they don't have a name. I like this match a lot more than the later matches the Rave Girls have been having. I really like that they didn't use the 450 spot that they use to finish matches. I like that they now are introducing more moves that can finish matches for these two. I really enjoyed this match way more than the last one that they had last week, or 2 weeks ago. Or no, was it 3 weeks? Doesn't matter. I enjoyed this one way more than the match they had a month ago, and I just think that it's time for Piper Niven and Chelsea Green to go their own separate ways. I would love to see Piper getting pushed, maybe a match on a Raw against Rhea Ripley for the title. Because it seems like she's back to her old form, whereas at the beginning it kind of felt like she was off a little bit. And I see great things in the future for Kaden and Katana, so for all women involved.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It's good stuff. I'm higher on Kaden and Katana than most people, to be honest with you. I think they're like one of the few proper tag teams in the division, and I think their match with Rookie Warriors. This is the best Molly Twins match on the main roster. Molly Twins is funny.
They don't have a name.
Yeah, I think that their eventual match with the Kabuki Warriors is going to be pretty good. So that's the deal with that one. We got a backstage. I don't know when this was in the show. It might have been around here, might have been before, but we got R-Truth explaining like why he believes he's in the Judgment Day, and it's basically R-Truth's recounting of his backstory and his life story when he was born, and it's accompanied by a bunch of AI art pictures of him with the Judgment Day as babies and him being born in the hospital, and there was also a bunch of Photoshop pictures of R-Truth accompanying the Judgment Day in various moments in their history. There was a picture. It was Judgment Day 1998 in your house, the one where Undertaker's kind of putting his hand out towards the camera, and they put R-Truth, his face on that. So a lot of cute little Easter eggs. But it was just a video package where R-Truth was kind of talking about why he's in the Judgment Day, why he loves the Judgment Day, and we kind of cut back to the Judgment Day watching this. And Rob, I didn't catch this tidbit until someone pointed it out. Do you remember a few weeks ago, R-Truth got the Judgment Day a TV, and it was like an old, like fucking beat up TV?
Yeah.
So that's what they were watching this on. If you go back to the camera frame, the Judgment Day are watching this on like an old TV set, the one that R-Truth gave them, which is kind of cute. But
yeah, that's what Rhea said. Somebody was like, "Why is the TV smoke? Why is the room smoking?" And Rhea Ripley was like, "It was his old fucking TV."
Yeah. So Damian Priest is amused by all of this, and Rhea's just kind of like, all right, so when does this end? Like, when do we put an end to this R-Truth thing? Like, when do we kind of move on from it? And Priest is kind of like, I'll handle R-Truth when the time comes. Why are you getting into this battle with because he is asking about Drew McIntyre. Rhea's like, don't pick a fight with Drew. And Priest is like, well, you shouldn't be picking a fight with Nia. And she's like, I'll handle Nia when the time comes. Don't worry about it. So they're both kind of basically like, I got this type of thing, right? But they turn their attention to JD and Dominic, and they tell JD that he has business to handle tonight with The Miz, and he needs to take care of that. And so JD gets ready to go do that. And so that was kind of the next thing. JD McDonough faced The Miz in a singles match. R-Truth was ringside, and a lot of this was a shtick. The crowd was ridiculously hot for this. Miz is gesturing at himself, he's gesturing at JD, and he's gesturing at Dominic and R-Truth. It is basically a boo yay game with the crowd, where the crowd is going boo at one guy, yay at the other guy. And they're going back and forth and having a back and forth match. The work is decent. This goes about 13 minutes. And again, a lot of shtick. Crowd is just super into it. They're super invested in these people. So there's JD sucks chants. There's Let's Go Miz chants. There's R-Truth chants. And ultimately, R-Truth, not R-Truth. The Miz gets JD McDonough with a skull crushing finale and wins. Match is fine, super heated. Again, this is one of those things where, look, Awesome Truth is not for me, but because it was heated, I'm not like, I don't hate it. As long as they're not doing bad comedy in the ring in a segment, I can live with it. Like, I can live with them wrestling more than I can live with them just doing shitty comedy in like some type of fucking SNL skit ass segment, you know. But that was this week's update. JD was unable to take care of the Miz, and backstage, Priest is really pissed off about this, and he essentially resolves like, look, next week we put an end to the R-Truth thing, and so it looks like it finally comes to an end next week when when Priest and Balor take on R-Truth and Miz. And what I would like to happen in that match is that they fucking kill them. I think that's what they're going to do. That's why Priest is like, all right, the meme is over next week. And so that's kind of where that thing stands. What did you think of all of this, Rob?
I thought that the segment, like beforehand, I just all this R-Truth and Miz stuff, it's kind of like what I didn't want to happen with Truth at the beginning. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy Awesome Truth, but like I just don't. It's not really my thing. Like them, basically, I don't feel like they're shoving R-Truth down our throats, but it's just like I don't. I feel like they're kind of overdoing it with the comedy thing. I loved like the video package. Don't get me wrong, but um, yeah, and the match was cool, and I hopefully next week this thing is over before if we can get to DIY. And I just hope that they don't. Hopefully they don't do my nigga R-Truth too dirty, but you know what I'm saying. I hope that this goes somewhere. So
Yeah, I think considering next week the matches are DIY versus the B team and the A team versus the meme niggas, or sorry, the Awesome Truth. I think the pathway is clear.
meme niggas.
Yeah, look, the pathway is clear to me. You give DIY the big establishing win against the B team and keep them strong, and then the A team looks dominant by absolutely destroying R-Truth. I think they should just. I'm sorry. I think they should like absolutely embarrass them. I think R-Truth should be like destroyed and straight up like hospitalized. You kind of have to do something like that just to kind of let them kind of regain some credibility and heat. And so I hope that's the direction.
Yes, because the Judgment Day, I wouldn't say they were feared before Survivor Series, but it was kind of like, yeah, pause. But no, I would basically, I wouldn't have them. Basically, they haven't been where they were before Survivor Series in a while because of the Survivor Series loss, and it's kind of been like everybody's been. That's why R-Truth has been able basically to do all this shit, where he's like fucking with Judgment Day every week because nobody's scared of Judgment Day anymore. Nobody fears the Judgment Day because of Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton and all of them. And so I think hospitalizing the guy that's been fucking with them would kind of reestablish them as serious heels.
I agree. And like people are gonna think, oh, maybe you ride us out to Mania, maybe do this and that. No, sometimes dudes just need to kind of take the L here. And I think R-Truth has done enough. He's done his service of being fun comedy for a month or so. And I think now's the time where
I love R-Truth. I love R-Truth, but a slow burn storyline in 2024 is crazy.
it's like, for what reason? He is 53, you know.
He can still go.
Of course he can still go.
But,
and there's a place in there's some, you know, if you want to just have him doing some like light comedy here and there on Raw, that's fine. This big long running saga, nah. I think like I said, Judgment Day should destroy him. Judgment Day should destroy him and kind of reestablish that like they should not be fucked with. So again, I hope that's the direction for next week. We follow this up. I believe the next thing was Seth Rollins. Let's see here. Yeah, so Seth Rollins came to the ring to give a promo about the upcoming Royal Rumble, and Jinder Mahal came out to confront him. And basically, he was talking about how, like, you know, like you play to these fans, and I'm the modern day Maharaja. and blah blah blah, and he kind of talks shits on the fans and stuff. But what he does bring up to Seth Rollins is like, you call yourself a workhorse and you give everybody opportunities except the guy who was a one-time WWE champion. And he was saying how, like, he's essentially asking for Seth Rollins' respect and saying that he doesn't get it. And he pointed out that, like, Seth gives opportunities to guys and on these open challenges and things like that. And he's just like, what about me, nigga? And so Rollins is kind of like, Jinder, we forgot about you. Not like we kind of forgot about you on purpose, like, who wants to remember Jinder Mahal? So the character acknowledged that, like what the fuck is going on here? Like, Seth Rollins, like, the whole time was just like, what the fuck is this? Right. But ultimately, he does accept Jinder Mahal's challenge, and it's announced that next week on Raw, we're getting Jinder Mahal versus Seth Rollins. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, this is the point of the show where I kind of crashed. I was just kind of like, I don't want to see this. I don't need to see this. It's not what I want.
This is where you crashed out on Twitter.
Yeah. I just don't need this, right?
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah, I just don't need this. So that was kind of my thing there, and yeah, that was just kind of the thing there. I think Jinder also killed the crowd for a bit. I think they were kind of just like thrown off,
right?
Like, we don't need to make this a thing. They're trying to make it a thing.
Thankfully,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like after this, I wouldn't say we should stop seeing him wrestle. Like, he could be used in 6-man tags, but like, I would much rather see Indus on television than Jinder Mahal right now. Indus are not polished yet, but they're a good big man, a decent big man tag team that can basically throw people around, essentially. And I feel like establishing them, because we've seen Jinder Mahal all month with these guys, talking to Adam Pearce for some reason. And so I feel like him being a tall kind of manager / semi wrestler, this kind of thing, would really help him.
I just think that the Jinder Mahals of the world, right, and the R-Truths and Miz's and guys like that, guys who've just kind of been around for a long time, and there's just not much else to get out of these people. I think they should all just be bit players, contributing their role in service of helping other people get over. And so the way I would use Jinder Mahal, Rob, is in a 4-minute loss to somebody that I'm trying to give momentum to. The way that I would use Miz is in a similar in a similar capacity. The way I would use R-Truth is in short, mid-card comedy type backstage segments. Maybe you throw them in a multi-person tag where you know that putting in R-Truth is going to give you some heat, things like that. These are not central cast members anymore, nor should they be.
Like a perfect example with best friends in AEW. I wouldn't say they're like where the Miz and R-Truth are, and this is not this is a comparison of status, right? There are guys that have been around a while in AEW, basically since the beginning of AEW, and so their positioning right now until they can get hot again is like seeing them like perfect example with the collision match with Trent Beretta. That match was used to basically not get Eddie Kingston over, but get the idea of what the Continental Crown Championship matches, the caliber of matches that we're going to get with that title. That it basically he helped establish that. And you see Chuck Taylor not really taking a higher positioning and role. It's usually to help get the younger guys that he starts in AEW over. So I see that's what they should start doing with guys like the Miz and R-Truth. Help get other guys over. You've been over your time. You had your time where you was over. Now it's time to get other guys over.
Yep.
Until you get your Legends deal.
Absolutely. We got an Ivar versus Otis match, and this was like 3-4 minutes, but it was still a nice little treat. I love Otis. I am a fan of Ivar. These are two big boys that can move. Commentary the whole time kept putting over how like the new age of super heavyweights in WWE is here, and that like these aren't your grandfather's super heavyweights, and that these guys can move. These guys can move around. They kept putting that over, like, oh my god, these are mobile big men. These are big men that can do cool things you've never seen before.
One man gang versus big boss man, nigga.
And here's the thing: whether you agree with it or not, that's good marketing. That's what WWE should be telling their audience: is that we are in an age of new, exciting super heavyweights, and that they can do all these cool dynamic things. You should be saying these things.
The way it should be looked at, this should be these kids, Big Boss Man versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Absolutely. And you got to keep putting them against each other to kind of create that, to kind of just kind of make that clear. So yeah, Otis is fun, man. Ivar is great. Bronson Reed is kind of doing better, and he's getting momentum. So yeah, like I continue to kind of feel these guys in this role. I actually wish I wouldn't go too long with these types of wrestlers because like sometimes they tire out. Like I remember the first Ivar Bronson Reed match, it got pretty bad because Bronson Reed like got winded after about 5 minutes. So I think maybe like 7 is the sweet spot. This went like 3, and it could have went like 3 to 4 more minutes, I think. But it was very fun in the time that it got, and I wish it got a little bit more time. So this was nice. This was a nice. This was a nice piece of candy after the Jinder Mahal segment. I thought. Um, Following this, we got the main event, Rob, and the main event was a street fight between Shinsuke Nakamura and Cody Rhodes. The match was originally scheduled to be a regular match, but Cody Rhodes, during his backstage promo earlier in the show, got jumped and attacked by Nakamura, and they got separated, and then the match was officially declared to be a street fight. So here we are, Cody Rhodes, Nakamura, street fight, 24 minutes long, Rob. A lot of heat early on, a lot of we want table chants. Cody Rhodes, what's up?
You said 24 minutes for what reason?
Because it's Cody Rhodes and it's the main event of Raw, and they wanted to give him that time. You could have cut that down about 7 minutes at least. But yeah, a lot of heat at the beginning. A lot of we want tables chants. Cody Rhodes taking the tables out, things like that. Nakamura used kendo sticks. He used nunchucks. He tried to red mist Cody Rhodes and hit the timekeeper. A lot of shenanigans with that type of stuff. Again, a lot of random weapons. Chairs were used, I believe, and ultimately, Cody Rhodes was doing the dusty punches. Nakamura hit him back with some of his counters. And Cody got Nakamura through a table when the diagonally placed table on the corner. Nakamura came charging at Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes moves out the way. Nakamura crashes through the table. He pops back up and eats a crossroads. The match was fine. Cody Rhodes gets the win. And given that this was a street fight, I'm getting the indication that this is the blow off, especially since Cody Rhodes said earlier in the show that this should be over. Like this should have ended, and it ends tonight. So I kind of got the feeling. I got the feeling that that's Cody's legitimate opinion. Like he just thinks this should be done, and it appears that it is. So
hold on, it's a pre-Rumble storyline, so it's not over until Cody Rhodes throws Shinsuke Nakamura over the top rope.
I suppose. The worst
That's
case
what they always do.
The worst case scenario is Nakamura throws him over and you do an elimination chamber match, which would fucking stink. That would be horrific.
I need that.
Cody Rhodes gets the win here. He tweets that there's 2 more things left for him to do, and that's winning the Rumble and main eventing Mania. So, thankfully, this program is over. It was very much just there for me. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wouldn't say it was particularly good either because, to be honest with you, Rob, I just don't think Nakamura is very good in 2023, 2024. He just doesn't have a lot left, man. The presentation has been much better and much improved. The video packages and the promos, much improved. It's great that he gets to speak in his own language. That's a great thing, right? These video packages with like the anime drawings and stuff, it's all cool. The problem is that when the bell rings, he just doesn't have much these days. And WWE insists on pushing him as bait for Okada to come over. And to that I say, WWE, he's not coming. Kazuchika Okada is not coming to WWE. So if you're a reason
soon as you seen that announcement of Big Prez, you knew it wasn't happening.
Yes, man. Okada's going to get the money he wants from Bushiroad. He's going to stay. So if you're pushing Nakamura for that reason, please stop. I think they should transition him to a role where I would go hunting for signing a big free agent of some kind, a Japanese one, and maybe pairing Nakamura with him, maybe as like some type of like pseudo manager and occasional tag guy with the guy or something like that. I think that would fit better, personally, in my opinion.
The way you use him is like you just said in that role, but he could be used to get other. He could still be used kind of in shorter matches, I believe, to get guys over. Like
the thing is,
giving the guy like guys like Cody Rhodes, like he was just given as somebody to like kill time until we got to get back on track.
I just think that the way Nakamura is presented, he almost doesn't work unless he's a main event guy, to be honest with you. So I think him as a well-dressed guy that accompanies someone to the ring, but also gets in tags with him. I think that would work a bit better.
Or he could be the new
But
gatekeeper. He could be the new Dolph Ziggler, except half as talented.
I don't think he works in the Dolph Ziggler role.
Why not?
I don't think he's just too. His presentation is too like this is the biggest star of the show type of presentation.
No. I don't mean Dolph Ziggler role is like he's like a jobber, but he basically is a jobber. But he can get a win on a guy like a fucking Miz in the meantime to go to a program with Johnny Gargano. You know what I mean?
Hear you. I just think that there's better guys for that role, to be honest with you. And guys who work better. Chad Gable, before he turned babyface, was perfect for that role because he would have a good match with people, and he lost to like the important guys. But now that he's transitioned babyface, they still haven't found a replacement for that, where it's just the guy who can go, who's really reliable, but ultimately jobs to the people that are being pushed. So you're gonna have to figure out who that guy's gonna be. It's not Shinsuke, and it's not Cody Rhodes because Cody Rhodes is going on to the Royal Rumble, and that was Raw. So an up and down show. I liked a lot of the early stuff. I didn't like a lot of the later stuff. And it's onwards to next week where Gunther comes back and we hopefully get a follow-up on this Intercontinental Championship situation. And we'll see where everything goes. Should also note that Jey Uso was interviewed backstage and he made it clear that he wanted singles gold in 2024. And Bronson Reed interrupted him and basically said that I want singles gold as well. So they look like they're on a collision course of some kind. Maybe they get a singles match next week. Or maybe they're two of the guys in this upcoming contender match for the Intercontinental Championship. So we're going to find out and we'll see shortly. But yeah, an up and down show, and hopefully next week is any better. CM Punk will next be on the Go Home Royal Rumble edition of Raw. So not next week, but the week after he will be on Raw. So I guess we'll take this remaining time, Rob, to go through our final Super Chats. Guys, do you have anything you want to tell us or ask us? This is your opportunity to get it out. Because we're going to be getting out of here shortly. I'll answer any questions you give me if I can answer them, if I have any answers. And so we'll kind of go through that and then kind of get up out of here.
All righty. First super chat. Andy, 100 rupees. Thoughts on Gunther working Sammy or Jay at Mania? Jimmy doesn't feel worthy of Jay's time. Honestly, I want to see Drew versus Punk more than Seth.
I'd like to see both matches. Gunther's not facing Jey Uso at WrestleMania because Jey Uso is probably going to face Jimmy in a singles match. He might face him in some type of tag, maybe. But that's just the deal with that. So what Gunther does at Mania, my safe bet is Chad Gable. And so that's kind of the deal with that. And Drew versus Punk, I'd love to see Drew versus Punk. I'm not sure when you get it. You could do it at Elimination Chamber if you want. But my only thing about Drew is he needs to win some big matches coming up. Sami Zayn, I'm curious what his WrestleMania match is. I'm curious what's next for Sami in that respect. I hope it's something big because Sami Zayn's one of the best wrestlers in the company. And he's very missed on Monday Night Raw.
No, definitely. Very, very, very bad.
Because he can open a show with a promo. He can have the backstage segments throughout the night. And he can have great matches. He literally is a 5-tool player that does everything WWE demands out of their top guys. So his contributions are invaluable to the show, and it's very noticeable when he's not around.
All righty. Thank you for the super chat. Huncho, $4.99. You said yesterday that you aren't against comedy in wrestling. What is some recent stuff in wrestling you considered good comedy?
Oh, that's a good question. What's good comedy? I thought the very first couple weeks of Timeless Tony was good, where it was just kind of subtle humor in backstage interviews. I thought that was good at the very beginning. I thought the early Brochacho stuff was pretty funny, to be honest with you. The early Adam Cole stuff. You know what happens in wrestling? They stumble across things that are funny, and then they recognize it's funny and try to start doing things on purpose, and it stops being funny. So a lot of the things that like attempt to be funny on wrestling, most of it was funny at the beginning, before it becomes like a cliche. What other things are funny? I have to think about it, to be honest with you. You got anything off the top of your head, Rob? I wish I had a chance to come up, to think about it.
What was the last two things you brought up? I had a phone call. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that the early Timeless Tony stuff, when it was subtle and it was just like the transition.
Yeah, like until they started like,
Yeah,
overdoing it. Yeah.
I was thinking that most things in wrestling that attempt to be funny, or comedy gimmicks, most of them are pretty funny at the beginning before like they kind of start overdoing it and try to do it on purpose. Um, what else is funny? Let me see if like the comments have anything. R-Truth in general is a funny person. But the thing is that they know that he's funny, so they go like, "Oh, let's like
Did
write."
you bring up? Did you bring up the beginning of the 24/7 title stuff?
No, but that was never funny to me.
No, but to me as a kid, it was funny until like when I was like 17, 16 or 17. It was funny at the first when it was like ever so often, but then when they started doing it every week, it was like, all right, bro.
Yeah, see, I don't know.
Let's see.
I'm trying to think of what else is Jimmy Uso's current presentation. Where
Yes,
he kind of like is just like a fucking dumbass with Roman Reigns.
he's a shitter that knows he's a shitter, but like
It's pretty
he's
funny.
delusional about being like he thinks he's the next tribal chief.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Ex-con Dom was pretty funny.
That was funny.
What
I'm trying to think.
what are the recent examples?
What do you guys have in the comments? What do you guys have in the comments? Yano.
Nah.
I don't know.
Drake Maverick 24/7 was gold. Yeah, I didn't care for any of that. Roderick Strong, not for me. No Yeet. Oh yeah, when Roman says
No Yeet. No Yeet is funny. Kurt Angle was funny. Kurt Angle still is funny.
Yeah, Kurt Angle's great.
Some of the shit he did when he was like the go home, the fucking elimination chamber when they or the go home to fucking WrestleMania when Triple H punched Kurt Angle and he had that stupid fucking look on his face before.
Yeah,
That was funny.
remember that. What else?
The Acclaimed at first, yeah, the Acclaimed were funny. I don't know if you felt the same way. I found some of the at first until like everybody does apparently. They drove it into the ground. At first, I found the Ass Boys Acclaim stuff funny. At first, and then they drove that into the ground.
I was just whatever about it.
Some of Caster's beginning raps were kind of cool, and then he like had to let you know he was a Republican every week. So then they got bad. Jay when he was with Sammy, that was really good.
Sami Zayn in the Bloodline was good. That was
tremendous.
That was good. That was good.
Broke everybody in the ring. Gable and Otis with Maxine Dupree.
They straddle that line where they could easily be cringe, but they're charming enough to overcome that. If that makes any sense.
Like no, I completely understand.
The act is like it's very cheesy, but like Gable and Otis are very endearing, and so that's kind of like what gets them by. It's kind of my perspective on Alpha Academy. So yeah, I'm not against comedy and wrestling at all, and I said this in the
I really quick. I know what Ibu means. All right, there's good. Danhausen is the shit he's against. Yano is the shit he's against. Especially Yano in a G1. Well, no, Yano's basically used as a night off for a guy, so I guess whatever.
It's whatever. What I want to say is that
like
I'm not against
House of Torture.
I'm not against comedy and wrestling because if everything was serious, you're stretching the fans' emotional investment thin. Because fans can't get dialed in on everybody's personal issue. If every feud on the show is a personal issue, if everything is a blood feud, then nothing's a blood feud because it's like, again, like some of this is just not going to be, it's going to be hard to take seriously. You need levity, you need the breaks, you need up and down, you need the comedy sometimes. So I have no problem with comedy in wrestling. It's always existed, right? It's not some new phenomenon.
What's your thoughts on Santino?
I wasn't big. I liked early Santino a little bit. I wasn't crazy about Santino. He was okay. The Beth Phoenix thing was cute. But other than that, Santino was just kind of whatever for me.
Yeah, House of Torture is bad comedy.
What I was trying to say though is that I don't like the meme-ness of a lot of it. I just don't like that like they're trying to make a meme. They notice that something gets over on Twitter and people start yucking it up and they're like, all right, let's play
like the first time Tozawa got over on Twitter.
That's what I'm saying. Things get over on Twitter and they go like, oh, let's just do this now a lot on purpose.
But I think it's indoctrinated in them. and ingrained in them from Vince, because that's exactly what Vince would do.
Yeah, Trust the Process says that Ibu basically likes short-term comedy, doesn't like it becoming bigger than wrestling. Yeah. He asked about DX comedy. I don't hate DX comedy. I think DX in 97, 98 were fun because it felt like they were disrupting the show. It felt like they were genuinely driving like Vince McMahon and WWE insane by just being dumbasses. And I also believe them. Like I totally believe that this is just how these motherfuckers are.
Bro, they literally, hey, bro, all they did in 2006 was joke about penises.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about 97, 98 DX. And my perspective on them is just that, like, it felt like they were legitimately just immature young adults being dipshits. And because I could believe that, I was fine with DX. I actually like early DX a lot. And like, actually, I'm not gonna say I thought everything they did was funny, but as an act, I thought it was a fitting act on the show because they're degenerates that are fucking troublemakers, and so that's what they're being. They're being childish troublemakers.
I liked 2009 DX as a kid. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah, I don't think any subsequent DX reunion was particularly good, but that's just kind of my thing on that.
No, you're good.
The problem with the reunions of DX was that like they were just too old to be doing the shit they were doing. It just felt like old niggas just being like.
Nostradamus said DX did funny things, but they weren't a comedy trope.
Yeah. They weren't like a comedy act,
Oh, so, yo, seeing Triple H is hilarious, bro.
yeah, Triple H is funny. He is.
That fucking clip where Shawn is like being really serious and he just laughs in his fucking face and walks off.
He's a funny guy. Do we have any super chats up, Rob?
Yeah, no. Hush 199. Will they ever bring TLC back as a stipulation?
Yes.
I feel like what Triple H is doing is he's saying that they don't need a pay-per-view to establish this.
Yes.
Yeah, same way he took away Hell in a Cell, and Hell in a Cell is now Fastlane.
Mm-hmm. If he allows it with Money in the Bank because that's like a different thing. Like no one ever goes, I challenge you to a Money in the Bank match. You know what I mean? Like that's just like a stipulation match to like lead to like a challenge of some kind. So he in his mind, that's the rationale for that one. But like Hell in a Cell, that's like when the feud calls for it. You know what I mean? TLC, that's when the feud calls for it. So those ones are off. Those are the ones that he doesn't do pay-per-views for anymore. And that's kind of the mindset with that. And I totally understand it.
Alrighty. Next super chat, David Weymouth, 199. Kabuki Warriors versus the Rave Girls at Rumble would be fire.
I would not mind that as the sixth match of the show. I would not mind it because it would probably be about 8 minutes, and I think the work would be pretty good.
It would probably wake the people up.
I think it'd be a good match. And you do want to get a second women's match on there if you can. So I'm not opposed to that at all. Rave Girls versus Kabuki Warriors, DIY versus Judgment Day, Fatal 4-Way World Title match, Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens, and then the two Rumbles. Fine by me.
Losing Fight said, 499 said, Rhea going viral on Japan Twitter out of nowhere the other day. Can't see her losing a belt anytime soon. To be honest, think Becky puts her over at Mania.
I can easily see it, and Becky Lynch is not Becky. Well, she is, but Rhea Ripley's becoming a superstar, and she goes viral every day in every fucking corner of the internet. So it doesn't shock me.
She goes viral off house show clips.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hush 199, does Triple H / upper management legit enjoy Kevin Patrick?
I never asked, but clearly they do, considering he's now the lead commentator of SmackDown.
All right. Next super chat, Trust the Process 34. 499, your top 5 biggest waste of TV time in wrestling currently.
That's a spiteful question. I feel like my answer is just going to get me in trouble. I don't have a problem with Sky Blue, but I think that the excessive nature of her usage is just a bit much. Like the fact that she wrestles every single week is just kind of nuts to me. I'm not gonna say she's a waste of TV. Sometimes she is a waste of TV time, but like I get that she's a project and they really value her and they like how reliable she is, but it can be a bit much. Jinder Mahal is a waste of TV time. The Miz can be a waste of TV time. When it was still around, QTV was a gigantic waste of TV time.
Mine would be Danhausen.
Danhausen is a waste of television time.
Carmen Petrovich and anything she does.
I don't watch enough NXT to have a take on Carmen Petrovich.
This Thea Hale, Riley Eisborn story.
There's a lot of waste of TV time on NXT. You know?
I don't believe that, since I see her basically saying, "Yeah, I fuck Nathan Frazier every day" on Instagram. So I don't. You're not gonna get me to believe romance stories, and that the same thing with Ruby and fucking Angelo Parker.
But they're actually dating.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, they're together.
Okay.
Yo, Baron Corbin is a waste of TV time.
Baron Corbin. I don't know. I like Baron Corbin's vibe right now, but I don't like his vibe when the bell rings. Like, he's just chilling, making his money, doing what he's got to do.
I don't need. He's just one of those niggas I don't need to see in 2024.
You know what he is? He's just like we just talked about with Nakamura. Just a guy you could have around where you could use him. You like him fucking using him with Braun Breaker for the tag tournament. Shit. I need two more. Fuck.
Oh my god. Starks and Big Bill are a waste of my time.
I like it for Big Bill. Starks is a waste of my. Yes, anything Ricky Starks does is a waste of my TV.
I like Ricky as a talent. I just think this act does nothing for anything. Kenny Omega and Jericho was a waste of time. The Golden Jet specifically was a waste of fucking time.
Yeah, I think that's 5, right? I think that's 5.
Oh man, Trust the Process asked which act got the lowest plus minus. Someone remember to super chat that on a different show, and I'll have a list ready.
I'll put it up on the screen.
No, it's fine. It wasn't a super chat, but yeah, bro. Sometimes these niggas have some very interesting plus minuses on these shows.
All right, make sure y'all have y'all screenshot and send that to Ibu. Next super chat, bro, 199. Tell me Jey Uso isn't about to beat Gunther, guys. We brought it up earlier in the show. Jey Uso is clearly facing Jimmy at WrestleMania. He's not gonna beat Gunther for the IC title. If Gunther hasn't lost the IC title by now, then he's definitely not. He's definitely not losing it till fucking WrestleMania or even past then. So. Yeah, so that was all the super chats.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching Raw Review. It was it was an up and down show, but we got into
it. Trust the Process, $4.99. Someone mentioned to Dave how Mania 20 and 30 both had triple threat main events. Thoughts on continuing the trend at 40 with Rock, Cody, Roman?
Yeah, fuck that.
Yo, that's so insane. How fucking similar the Mania 20 and 30 main events are.
Yeah. They're very similar. People weren't trying to see Shawn and Triple H, and they weren't trying to see Batista and Randy. And in both matches, the underdog guy, the underdog technician, who they were kind of written off out of the match in the middle of the match, and we get the back and forth between the other two guys, and the crowd is booing. Like, there's a part where Shawn and Triple H in New York was not fucking with it. And similarly, I was gonna say similarly, there's a part with Batista and Randy where it's just them two, and the crowd is just chanting for Bryan. So it's very similar.
Really quickly, next 30 seconds, not a super chat, but next 30 seconds. Rank the Michaels Triple H rivalry from worst to best match.
You'd have to pull up all the matches in front of me, bro.
I know all the matches.
I'll tell you this off the top of my head, right? The best one is the SummerSlam 2002 match. The second best is the last man standing match they had at the Rumble.
Okay.
And then you'd go with the 3 Stages of Hell match, which is okay. And then the Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood 04 was fucking terrible.
I love it. I just watched it earlier.
You like it?
Yeah. I'm a mark for fucking storytelling, brother.
I'm gonna rewatch this thing, and if I hate it even more, I'm gonna blame you. So yeah, it was one of those feuds that went too long, and by the end, no one gave a fuck. And it was great at the start, and it just got less and less great. Two strong matches, in my opinion. One really strong match, and then two matches that I thought were not very good. So that's Triple H.
I love the best one to me might be the one where Shawn almost won the belt. SummerSlam, then the one where Shawn almost won the belt, and then 3 stages, then Hell in a Cell, and then I don't know the 5th one. But yeah, that's my ranking. All right, guys, I think that's the end of the super chat. So Ibu, sign us off.
All right, guys, thank you so much for watching the Raw review, guys. Appreciate the support and everything. Please continue to supporting the channel. We will be back tomorrow to preview Dynamite and talk the latest news.
It was
Rob and Ibu Russell Pierce. This was the Raw review, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Make sure you guys check us out on Twitch tomorrow. Unpure's Dynamite Watch Long. Make sure y'all tap in.